If you love talking about cats, but your friends and family are kind of over it, this is the podcast for you. Join your hosts, Danielle Stray Woolley and Elizabeth Calico Gearhart, on the Jersey PodCats, where everyday cat lovers share funny stories, challenging situations, and ask their questions about cats. All right, let's get right into this episode.
Hi, everybody. I am Danielle Woolley.
And I'm Elizabeth Gearhart, and we are the Jersey PodCats.
Thank you guys for joining us. We are joined today with a very special guest, Dr. Fred Moss. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. And I'd like to share a quote about from his website. He is from Welcome to Humanity, and he does coaching, and you do so many things. So I'll let you add to anything that I miss. But I really wanted to open with a quote because it fits to so many of the previous guests that we had, where his commitment is that each and every person will know that their voice is heard, that who they are and what they do matters. So that's really fitting, especially for the community of cat lovers that we speak to every day. Sometimes they feel that they're doing too much, they're not doing enough, and the work that they're doing matter. And I just think that's really great. So thank you and welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's actually one of my more favorite quotes anywhere. That was it's called an impossible promise, and that's how I got to that. So that by 2030, each and every person will know that their voice can be heard and that who they are and what they do matters. Is the way the quote really goes.
Okay, I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you also have been podcasting for a while. You've been a guest for several other things, but have you ever been invited to speak about your cats before?
No, I never. I'm super excited about it. My wife is in the other room, and so I don't know if she can overhear me or not, but no, I've never had an opportunity to speak openly simply about my cats.
And how cool is that? Because that fits kind of into the quote of like, that's important to you. That should be out in the world. And you've had cats for how long? Like, just kind of start talking to us about your cats.
This is my 13th, 14th, and 15th cats. So I have 3 cats now. I've had 15 in my life. And it goes back a long ways. You know, it goes back to originally we had Velvet. Velvet was a Siamese cat. We had her. We had him, I guess, when I was about 10 or 11. And he had an unfortunate circumstance where he died under anesthesia when he was getting declawed. So we had to replace him, and we replaced him with Boo Boo. And Boo Boo was another Siamese cat. And Boo Boo was a great cat, but we decided that Boo Boo needed a partner. So
that's how it gets started. You start with one and then 2.
Exactly. So then we got another, another Siamese cat. It was her name was I ended up being the namer of these cats, and her name was BB. So Boo Boo and BB. Yeah, Boo Boo and BB were together, and of course they spawned some new cats, and they had a litter. BB had a litter, and the runt of the litter, we kept the runt of the litter, and my sister and I took care of those. I think there were 5 cats in the litter, and we kept the 5th one, and maybe you could guess the name of the 5th one.
Cece?
Well, no.
Dee
It would
Dee?
be close. It was half Boo Boo and half BB, so we just named it Booby.
Well, I got to ask you, Dr. Fred, though, while we're talking about Siamese cats, I got a couple questions here.
Yeah.
One, my aunt had a Siamese cat, and that cat was so mean, and she was so bossy. Like, she would come up and just hit people, and all of us kids were terrified of her. Did you find that your Siamese were like that?
Not at all. They were very, very playful, especially Boo Boo. He was the king of the roost, and he was just really playful. He would chase grapes. And then, that was sort of his fetch. We would throw grapes around the house, and he'd go pick them up and bring them back and put them in someone's shoe. That was his big game.
That's fun.
Him and BB had this group, and then we had Booby that we kept. So now we had 3 cats: Boo Boo, BB, and Booby. And
like you're setting us up for a joke.
Yeah.
Well, we actually got a 4th cat, and so on the way home from school when I was in 6th grade, there was a fluffball non-Siamese cat who had some eye problems, and I picked her up. I picked her up out of the streets and brought her home and said that we got to keep her. And I was ruling the roost for the most part as well at home. So my parents agreed to keep her. And her name, of course, was Bobo. So we had Boo Boo, BB, Boobie, and Bobo were our 4 cats when I was growing up.
This is the greatest. So we usually ask, like, how did your cat get its name? Like, this is the best naming story ever.
So did your parents do you have brothers and sisters named like Fred and not like Freddie, Francesca?
No,
Fanny?
no, it was just me and my sister. My brothers were already moved out of the home. So it was my sister, Deborah, and me, and that was it.
Okay.
So, no.
I have another question for you. I don't know how old you are, but
those were seal points. I've been wanting to think about what the word is. Those were seal point Siamese actually back then.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that really old Disney movie? Like I was a really little kid with the Siamese cats, and they sang this little song.
We are
Siamese, if you please.
No, I don't remember that.
If you don't,
it's a Disney movie. I can't remember what it is now.
Oh, you have to watch it now.
Oh yeah, I have to watch it, but I don't recall it at this point. So I missed
Danielle,
it.
you've seen it?
Yeah, it's a Disney movie. I want to say and I feel like people are yelling at the podcast or the YouTube video right now saying, you don't know this movie? We'll figure it out before the end, or I'll Google it on the side while we're talking.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Danielle.
Well, I was going to say, Dr. Fred, so with the cats, so when you come up with those names, like where did it start, I guess is my question.
I think it just
kind of randomly picked a name.
Yeah, I think Boo Boo had his name, I think, when we got him. So when it became clear that BB was a good feminine creature to be with Boo Boo. And then I'm the one who I think, I was a fledgling geneticist, I guess, when I was in 5th or 6th grade, and decided that it had to be a little bit of half of Boo Boo and half of BB. So Boobie made a lot of sense. And then Bobo was just like, outside of the family. So that was just far enough to be outside of the family and have a different name than the other 3.
So speaking of family, how do you feel about cats being pets versus family? Like, do you feel that they're like essential to your life? Are they just kind of there? Talk to us about that.
Cats are not just pets. Cats are absolutely family. And, just the other day, actually, Despacito, one of our 3 cats now, found his way outside the front door. But in order to do it, he had to actually totally premeditate the escape entirely.
He planned the whole thing?
Oh, he planned the whole thing. It was just, like he could not have done it otherwise. He's never left the front door. But in this particular case, when we were coming home from the walk, we opened up the door and he was hidden in exactly the only place that he could have been. And as soon as we opened the door, he just darted out. It was just pretty
Sounds like my Loki.
Yeah.
And where are you located? Like what area you live?
We're in Grass Valley, which is in Northern California, north of Sacramento, California.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So we like to keep the 3 cats in the house as much as we can. Although one of them, Valentino, we have a blue Russian named Valentino, and he's given us a lot of challenge because he's spraying. And we've had, I know it's just nasty actually. And, we've had him talk to some animal communicators and some psychologists and stuff. And we think we understand why he's spraying, but it still doesn't stop him from doing it. He's very embarrassed about it. He's very guilty about it. He makes it very clear that he doesn't like doing it, but it's almost beyond his control. And that's a deep challenge he's kind of like the prettiest thing I've ever seen. I think that he is the prettiest animal I've ever seen. I really do think that he's the most shockingly beautiful animal I've ever seen. And he'll probably come around here. Usually when we're talking about him, he shows up.
So is he neutered?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And he's still spraying. That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit weird. They say. Now the thing is, he still has a sack, I guess. So, but he came from the what do you call it? The
shelter rescue?
Yeah, the shelter. He came from the shelter and he could not have got out of there or got in there without being neutered. But sometimes I wonder about that, and he's not like he's in heat. He's never in heat or anything. So, I mean, I don't know. I've wondered about whether or not I should take him to the vet to have him look at that. But because he does have some qualities, but there's no, we have a date for his neutering and the whole deal. So I think he was neutered.
Well, I have found that with cats that were neutered too late, like if they let it go too long before they neuter him. And when Max was sick, I did manage to get him neutered, even though he was sick, because I'm like, I do not want to be neutering this cat after 6 months because they keep those behaviors.
Right.
Sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's what
interesting.
That's Valentino. And I think that might be what's happening with him.
Yeah, I'm just curious if you don't mind sharing more about, you said you worked with an animal communicator. Liz actually worked with an animal communicator, as did I, when my cat was, Thor was having a ton of issues. And he was completely fine. And then all of a sudden one day just having issues with the litter box, but like to the part that he was fearful. Like you could see he was afraid to use it. He was holding it in. We tried everything and we concluded it was a couple of things. One is I made too many changes in the house at once. I was like having a cleaning spree day and it just completely wrecked him. I changed the litter, so the scent was different. I moved the litter box. We had also started taking care of a new feral cat that was coming around. And same thing, it was almost like he couldn't control it. And for him, we wound up doing a combination of like some pheromone stuff, as well as keeping the other cats further away, not disrupting his routine at all anymore. And then we also did wind up having to put him on happy pills per the vet's recommendation, and he's been fine. So
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like, any of those things, any single one of those things might have been enough to disrupt them, and then
oh yeah, and I
what
did it
we
all at
learned,
once. I did everything wrong I possibly could
right,
have.
right. When we shifted, for a while there, they would go through the cat doors into the garage, which is where we kept our litter box, but then we brought it back in. And now I think, they like to say that it's just marking territory. If he looks out the window and he sees another animal, that's another place that he might want to spray, or he's being bullied by one of his pseudo brothers here, by Despacito. So, and I think we've seen that. And I think that's another place where he wants to express himself, because he's
Yeah.
such a pretty thing. I mean, I hope he comes around. He's so pretty.
Well, if not, you'll have to send us pictures, because we've been
Yeah,
collecting photos from all of our guests to share, because we
yeah,
actually have people write us and ask that they want to see more cat pictures.
yeah, no
Surprisingly.
problem.
And isn't it the beautiful ones that know they can get away with anything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I do want to say something about the litter boxes that I brought up a while ago about Mercutio. Mercutio was sneezing and I tried to give him pills from the vet. And after I gave him the first one, he was like, never again. But one thing the vet had said is some cats are very sensitive. Their smell is so sensitive, they cannot handle scented litter. So I bought unscented cat litter and his sneezing went away by itself.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So I think that you have to be careful what kind of cat litter you use too. Not that you would want to change anything after what Danielle went through. Danielle, don't change your cat litter.
It was awful. I was like sleeping on the floor with him at night. And
Oh my
even when we
God.
brought him to the vet, like the vet picked him up, and not to be gross, but like he just wasn't going to the bathroom at all. So just the act of picking him up, and he was just pooping on the floor. And the same thing you said, he just looked so embarrassed, like he couldn't help it.
Yeah.
But they just said it could have been a combination of everything that I did wrong, and I learned the wrong way, and now I share it with everybody not to do that.
Yeah.
And there was construction going on in our neighborhood too, so I think his nerves were shot. It was just a combination of everything.
Yeah. You serious trauma for your cat there.
Now it's been over 40 years you've been a doctor in the mental health area?
Yeah, I've been in I've been a doctor for over, I actually graduated in '88, but I've been in the mental health field since 1980.
Okay. And
Yeah.
the reason I'm asking is because, I mean, obviously you work with people, but there's got to be some things that are relevant for animals too, both
Yeah.
on the, cats probably have mental health struggles too, but then
Yeah.
also how do they help us with ours?
Well, there's, so many ways, even back in the day when it was the four cats, because they just teach us how to live. They teach us how to live in the moment. They teach us how to not hold grudges. They teach us how to, manage and pre-plan things. They teach us how to be really coy and how to be really graceful and how to, all day long, these cats are more comfortable than I've ever been in my life. Like they lie down and find little spots in the sun or on the couch or on a shelf or something, in a box or in a shoe or something like that are, so comfortable. And they really, it seems like they emphasize what's important in life, and they, and they're completely hilarious all the time, especially as they play with each other or chase down dust bunnies or flies or mosquitoes or grapes or whatever, and they're like, the fact that they're just like little baby tigers or baby lions, there's something about how unfierce they are. On the one hand, they can be pretty mean, of course, and I like to keep my cat's claws clipped. I do think that really helps with their demeanor if they know that their claws aren't causing damage. they still want to use scratching post and all, but when I keep the claws clipped, it's sort of like there's so much psychology that goes into watching and being with cats that really helps me realize what matters in life. And what matters in life is having fun, playing, being, beautiful, finding comfort where I can. And, just it's not like we're going to take our cat for a walk. Sometimes I see,
I
people
tried it.
people taking their dogs for a walk.
Yeah.
You could put a harness on them and maybe get them a few feet, but it's not like they're going to follow you up and down a path or something like that. You follow them.
So I do know some people that do have cats that follow them on walks, but it's because it was modeled behavior where they watch the dog do it.
Right.
For me, it backfired where I wanted to let Loki go out for walks. He kept trying to go outside, got him used to the harness, but then he just started trying to just explode out the door, like at the worst possible time.
Right.
Whenever he wanted. So we stopped.
What kind of cat was Loki? Is she still around or?
So he's still around. Yeah, he is part Maine Coon and part Norwegian cat, I believe.
Okay.
And he was a stray. So the way that he came to us was he was born outside and he was living outside. And we met him while I was begging my husband for another cat and we were on a walk and he said, absolutely not. And then this kitten popped out from under a car and said, I manifested it. That cat's coming home with us.
Interesting.
But yeah, it took a little while. He was a little crazy when we first took him in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It takes something to adjust for sure.
Yeah. I was just gonna say something you said before about how they make you live in the moment and they could be friendly, but maybe not so much. I had gone away for a few days and I haven't really gone anywhere in years with everything going on after traveling a ton. And he's not really a cuddly cat, but he likes to be around. He likes to be observing everything. And I sent a picture to Elizabeth. He jumped right on my bed. He never does that. And was cuddling after I got home. I'm like, oh, he does care. He does love me.
Yeah.
But then it forced me to stop doing everything. So I was like, oh, I got to unpack and do laundry and clean. But he's like, nope, just lay here.
Yeah, it's really interesting when they're asking for love or asking to be petted. Like when I wake up in the morning, Valentino always just jumps on the chair as I'm walking by the chair. So that I don't have to bend down and pick him up. He just jumps on the chair and shows me his backside and clearly wants me to at least pay him a second of attention to him.
That's great.
They're amazing. They're amazing animals. They are truly, they're stunning. They're beautiful. They're hilarious and they're life affirming.
Yeah, my cats are funny. They hang out with me all night long, unless they're outside. Sometimes Lily and Kushi like to stay outside. I don't let Max stay outside at night. But everybody gets up at the same time in the morning and everybody goes downstairs and they're maybe not even hungry, but it's just okay, mom's up, so we're all getting up. It's just, it's they're like my peeps, my little gang.
Yeah, they are. They're completely like a family, right? They're completely at least some, Valentino, what the communicator said is that Valentino thinks that he and I are brothers.
Oh.
So, and therefore it's his job to keep the place secure along with me. And that's why he was spraying initially. That's at least one of the diagnoses for the guy.
Yeah. Could it just be that he's uncomfortable and he has to get that stuff out?
I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. I think that he does it in particular places. It seems like he does it down in my wife's art studio on the plastic. I don't know if he's uncomfortable. I'm not sure. Again, we haven't quite nailed it down because he's still doing it periodically, which neither of us like very much.
Well, the other part about this podcast, which the next segment we're going to talk about is why this show was created, was to help share stories about things going on with their cats that we just can't figure out, to see if anybody else has had a similar experience. So if anybody who's listening through the podcast or watching on YouTube, if you've had a similar experience Dr. Fred has with your cat, please share with us. We'd love to pass the information along and see, we're not claiming to cure or diagnose anything, but just sharing information for us to then work with our healthcare professionals for our pets.
Yeah, it's really. I'm sorry. I think it'd be interesting to know if anybody had a cat that they thought was neutered that maybe was only partially neutered or something.
Right.
Or is that even a thing? Now I'm going to go back to Google again. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I don't know about partial neutering either. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that the shelter could have or would have let him out without being neutered. That's always what I think. I don't think and he was there for 2 months. So I just doubt that he went 2 months without being neutered.
Yeah. Well, when I got Max from Kentucky, he came up on this transport. That's a whole nother story. I think I've told the story before, but he was only like 8 weeks old, supposedly. So I did have to get him neutered myself, it was funny because usually you have to sign a thing and promise. I think I might have signed a contract and promised that I would get him neutered, but I would never take a cat and not get it fixed because there's so many unwanted cats in the world. So,
There is, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. I just looked. And according to the San Bernardino County site, it says it is a fact that neutered cats can still spray.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've looked at
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And 10% of cats neutered before 10 months of age may still spray as adults. If you have a household with numerous cats, it's likely that at least one of them will spray.
Well, that's what we have. We have a household with
Got the
numerous
one.
cats.
You hit
and
the lottery.
And Valentino's the one. Yeah.
So what are some other things that your cats do that you feel like, not to say you can't live life without them, but I know they're very important to you as they are for us. Any special routines? You mentioned earlier about how like they tell you when to slow down. They tell you when to have a regimen. So that's important for me on days I just don't feel like getting up yet. Kind of have to.
Right. No, I think that they just represent, everything it is to me to be alive and to find what's important. And then to, like when I see them chasing a dust bunny or a grape or a fly or something like that, it's just, I find it to be so ticklish, so hilarious and humorous. They're like, they could be doing a lot of different things and they just get so excited about a laser light or a
that's my Tony,
or a dust bunny. And the other thing they do is that they play with each other. Their love for each other, that they're willing to spar with each other and have pretty good fights every so often, and without ever really intending to hurt each other. And then of course, when it comes time to rest, it's very possible that all three of them will be in the same pile together. And that's really amazing. It's so beautiful that there's a love and a play and a sparring that gets mixed in naturally. There's something about how natural they are and that they hear each other and they care for each other. Like one time, Winston was outside and, Despacito, like Winston had fallen off the porch, the second story porch here. And he tends to be a daredevil on the porch.
As soon as you said that, my stomach dropped a little bit.
Yeah. And so he fell off, I guess. And Despacito knew it. And Despacito made it very clear to us that there was something going on, and like, coming, almost chasing us, almost like a dog, pulling on the bottom of our pants and showing us the front door. So that when I finally opened the front door, because Despo had told me to, then there was Winston waiting for me to come in the house, and it was like, they care for each other at such a beautiful level. There's a level of love that is so natural that I wish I could inject that each and every day into my life. There's something like just modeling for me how to live.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing so much about your cats. We love talking with other people that really want to talk about them, especially if you have friends and family, they're kind of overhearing about them. It sounds like you like to talk about them as much as we do.
Yeah.
What is something that you're excited about, though, just for you? It could be cat related, it could be business, it could be life. Like, what's something cool or exciting that you're working on that you want to share with everybody?
I think this branding upgrade that I'm doing next week in New Jersey is a really big deal. This idea of creating a business model that's watertight and sound and actually properly create the right clientele and the right coaching clients and put people into a customer journey that actually makes sense for them and make sure that they get nurtured all the way through. That's a really exciting space for me. And then also my wife and I are working on upgrading our relationship, creating more intimacy and more warmth and embracing of who we are. I'm not going to lie. She's much more obviously available for the cats than I am. I pretend to be a little bit too busy for the cats here and there. And she's always like, don't forget to give them scratchies. And, she never had children. And so there's something like, these are her kids, the three boys. And so it kind of goes that my branding includes being a cat lover, and that's why I made it into my my podcast pitch as well.
So what is the name of your business? What are you rebrand? Are you changing the name or just rebranding how you present it?
No, the name of the business still is going to be just Dr. Fred. So that's who I am. But the brands that I am are the True Voice Methodology and Welcome to Humanity. And then the Healing the Healer is another one. And there's my podcast itself is called The Healed Healer. And then I also have a Global Madness brand. Each of them are really talking about what it takes to rebalance ourselves when we feel like we're out of balance. What it takes to speak our true voice into a world that is eagerly waiting to hear from us.
Nice.
I love it. And that's why I opened up with that quote, because I felt like that really encompassed all the things that you're doing.
It does. It does. That is the that's the reason that quote ever got designed. Was the whole purpose of the Impossible Promise is to be able to, when I get discombobulated in my life, I'm supposed to remember that that's the reason I'm here on earth, is ultimately by 2030, each and every person will know that their voice can be heard and that who they are and what they do matters.
I love it. And what's the best way that people can connect with you?
Again, in the branding upgrade, this the business card I'm using is called drfred360.com.
Okay. And we'll have everything linked up in the show notes and on the YouTube description and on our site and everything.
Right. And then there's, there's all sorts of spaces to get a hold of me inside of my, the courses and my books and my social media and all that. But I've been warned against giving too many places, too many ways to get a hold of me.
Yeah. So I do customer experience too. So it sounds like, so which way is the best way to get in touch with you?
Right. And there's always my email, which is drfred@welcometohumanity.net.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for reaching out and coming on as a guest. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
We do some other fun projects too, which we might invite you back for. One of them is called Dogs versus Cats, where we have like a healthy little competition discussion with dog lovers versus cat lovers, which people seem to enjoy. So we might need you to come back for Team Cat, because Team Dog kind of won last time.
Team Cat, no problem.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. Fred. The next thing we're going to go into, and you're welcome to stay or you can drop off, is we want to do an update. So for those who are new to listening, the reason this whole podcast was started, I'm going to let Elizabeth jump in, but we always want to hear how her little cat Max is doing.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, we lost our beloved cat Checkers a year ago, and she's in the pictures behind me. If you see us on Instagram or YouTube, she's the general. She ran the household, and we have her grave in our backyard, and we have an angel on it surrounded by flowers. And she told us it was time that we needed to get another cat to save another. She didn't say get another cat. She said save a life. So of course, I went on the ASPCA website, thought the cat was local, saw this little polydactyl kitten that just stole my heart for some reason. I don't know why. And applied to get this cat, found out he was in Kentucky, 8 weeks old, came up on this huge van and full of animals, and we brought him home. And it looks like Dr. Fred has to go. So
bye, Dr. Fred.
Thank you.
That's why I'm nodding my head at the screen for people who are on YouTube or chatting back and forth. Take care.
Thanks. And brought him home, and he was fine for a while. And then he started scratching his face and scratched all the fur off his face, his ears, his throat. And over 8 to 9 months, I took him to the vet or changed medicine 26 times, kept track of everything on an Excel spreadsheet. Finally did find something that seems to be managing most of it. He's still shaking his ears now. I'm going to see if there's anything in his ears, but he's getting Revolution Plus. I don't think there is. But after I noticed that I had a rash on my arm where he laid his face on my arm. So I asked the vet for an antihistamine, and they don't have one for cats, but we tried Benadryl, and along with the steroid and this other stuff, it worked. So we're managing it. He's fully furred out now. And he's a happy cat. And we thought
Yay, Max. Yay. So we just want to keep sharing his story, because if anybody else has a mystery thing going on with their cat, we want them to be able to ask questions and share with others too, to kind of help give them ideas, just like Dr. Fred was saying. Like that was unplanned. We didn't know he was going to bring an issue with his cat, but we're glad that he did.
Yeah. And so now, So what's kind of sad, Danielle, especially after this talk with Dr. Fred, is the other cats are a little bit aloof because they were shelter cats that we got a little bit older and they're always been leery around people. We thought we could train Max not to be, but the other cats trained Max. So he's acting more like them now. But what's so funny is he loves those little hard treats, those cat treats. They show him shaking the bag and the cats come running. Literally, I shook the bag the other day and Max came flying over as fast as he could, just like a cat commercial to get cat
That's
treats.
funny.
He's adorable.
Yeah, one of my cats doesn't do that. Like if I open and like even if I make a noise with this, I'm actually super shocked. Like if I make that little noise, he used to come flying out of wherever he was because he just assumed it was for him. But I think now that he's been here for a couple of years and he's not like as like, oh my gosh, I need food and treats. He's like, oh, I know, I'll get them later. So he doesn't really come running anymore.
I know.
Now, for those of you who are looking online, so I'm actually recording from my dining room today because I just had a conflict with my office space. I usually use it 99% of the time, but my hubby had a meeting. But I just want to show you as I move my head, because we're going to get to the part of what's new with you guys. There's a giant hole in my ceiling.
Oh,
So that's why I told Elizabeth, I was like, I'm not even telling you all the things that's happened since the last episode because there's just so much. But yeah, we had a leak and thankfully my brother-in-law is a plumber and actually going to talk about him twice. He's a plumber. So my husband had an idea of what it was, but he verified what the issue was. So my husband fixed it, but now we're just making sure that's all dried out before he goes and gets the stuff to fix it. So that's happened. And that was really exciting because it happened right before we were leaving for our trip. We had a little mini trip planned as a mini vacay because we haven't really traveled in years and our next trip isn't until August. But on the trip, it was nice. We went on a cruise, Royal Caribbean, and we went to Nova Scotia for a day. And I was very excited for two things when we got off the ship because we were walking for a while. It was early and nothing was really open yet. So I was excited to find poutine, which I think I'm saying right. For anybody who's not had poutine, it's like, if you're from New Jersey, it's like disco fries, but it's just like French fries with like a gravy and like some cheese curds, whatever. It doesn't sound like all that excitement, but I just really was excited to have that and to find
I just like the word poutine.
Oh, it's fun. Say it again.
Yeah, poutine. Yeah, and you found a bathroom. That would be my first most exciting thing.
So that was the two things I was looking for because nothing was open. So, and I drink a lot of water. Okay, not to be like TMI. So it just so happened we were walking. Come around the corner, I find the poutine stand, get excited, take a picture, and then look, and then I see the porta potties. So I put the phone in my pocket, I go running to the porta potty because I'm really excited about both of those things. And try to guess who dropped their phone in the porta potty.
No, God, no, Danielle, really?
I did. I dropped the phone in the actual like disgusting purple, that's like grossness water. So I popped my head back out and looking for my husband and I'm like, please tell me we have a phone plan for insurance. He's like, no. I'm like, all right, well, we need to go to AT&T and buy a new phone because I just dropped it in the porta potty. And not even thinking, my brother-in-law who's with me, he's a plumber. He doesn't care. He sees this stuff all the time, but my stomach is queasy. I'm like, nope. Nope, leave it. Don't even touch it, leave it. And my sister's like, it's not a big deal because she's a nurse. She's like, we'll get it. They went around to the restaurants and found a garbage bag. And my brother-in-law put the garbage bag up his arm using my sister's hair tie, and they fished my phone out of the porta potty. It was so gross.
You owe them for life, girl.
I do. I really do. So then when we were walking back to the ship, everybody saw it happening because I'm a little dramatic and I get a little funny. I'm freaking out. I'm like, just leave it. This is so gross. I can't even look. And people are like, weren't you the girl with the phone? Did you get it? Does it work? Oh my God, it works. Wait, how did you wash it? Oh my God, what kind of phone do you have? It still works. Like, so I was kind of the talk of the ship, not in a good way that I wanted to be.
That's so funny.
But it was like right after that happened. So I was just like, oh my gosh, what else?
Yeah, I think you need to do a purification ritual, Danielle.
Yeah, not only that, it was like that. There was just so much going on. So kind of going back to what Dr. Fred said is like knowing when to slow down and be present. Like just I had to do so much to be able to go away for a few days that it was like a reminder of like, I'm still doing too much.
Yeah, it's hard going on vacation, especially when you work for yourself, because you don't really have a backup. And I mean, maybe you do, but they're not as interested in doing your work as they are in getting their own done. So you have to do everything beforehand. And then I find even just like leaving the cats. Like I have a house sitter, but I have to make sure there's enough food. I have to put all their
Yep.
Max's medicine out, all that stuff. And then you get back and you have to catch up.
So that was the next funny story I had for you. So I was actually messaging with William Dorella about this because we talked about it in our episode. And remember, he said like he had like a note like a mile long for whenever he
Yeah.
goes away for his cats. So I did the same, but I actually like printed out the instructions of like a general summary of what each cat gets, all their microchip numbers, who likes and dislikes what. And then I had a separate set of instructions for my neighbors taking care of the front yard, because I have front yard cats. I have an in-out backyard cat and then the inside cats. That's the point I've gotten to.
Wait a minute. I have never, ever in my life known anybody that has front yard cats and backyard cats and indoor cats.
Yes.
Like seriously?
Yes, because
so
they're
funny.
the ones that we spayed and neutered and trapped. So now they all have their little territories, and they come at different times of the day. But just to emphasize the importance of like instructions, one. So I missed like a comma in my instructions for the front yard. So I said 2 blue bowls. I'm probably going to mess it up, but it was like 2 blue bowls. Or no, I know what I said. Can of wet food out front, 2 blue bowls, 1 with water. So it sounded like put water in the blue bowls and just leave the can of food on the front porch. So when I came home, I'm like, who did this? Why is there a random open can of cat food? And to their, I can't even think anymore. In their defense, they don't feed their cat wet food. So they wouldn't know that the cat food can't be left in the can. So it's just like, so many people just don't know things. And then if you don't leave clear directions, it was just funny for me to come home. I'm like, what is this? So now I've updated my instructions. So when we go away again in August, they're now a little bit more cleared. So what about you? What's going on before we wrap up?
Not a lot. We went down to the Jersey Shore on the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend because we figured that would be the least traffic, and it was.
Nice.
And it was a little chilly, honestly, which is unusual. I think we're going to have, I don't know, kind of a chilly. It's been dry, but it's been chilly so far in May. Now it's June. And it's just, the shore is just wonderful. The ocean is just so beautiful, no matter what time of year. So we walked the boardwalk and had lunch down there, but we went to Long Branch, which
nice.
Long Branch has changed a lot. The prices on everything have doubled or tripled.
Oh, wow.
And I know there's been a lot of new buildings and build outs there, and boardwalk buildings and apartment buildings and everything. And
my running club, when I was in a running club, we used to run there once a week. We ran there once a week and we ran at Belmar Boardwalk too. It's been a while since I've been there though.
You would not recognize it today, but it's just beautiful down there. So so that was our high point of the weekend. And this is such a funny story. I think it's funny, but Richard is grilling now because it's clear enough to grill. So we've gotten to where he grills just a ton of meat. So I'll go to the store and I'll buy pounds and pounds of meat, and he grills it all. Yeah.
Did the cats steal it? Derek loves meat. He tries to steal meat.
They won't eat it. I don't know all they like are those stupid cat treats. But so then we freeze it. So, and we call it our emergency meat. So if we don't feel like eating dinner,
I like it. That's a good plan.
Meat. Yeah, and it tastes really good because it's off the grill. So we have a freezer full of cooked meat. So that was the other thing that we did this weekend. And so not a big activity. Well, we worked, of course. We worked all day Saturday on the radio show, on stuff for the radio show. I shared some of that with you because some of it pertains to this podcast as well. So anyway, so kind of a little bit boring, but that's okay. Boring is better than.
Sometimes you don't want too much excitement because then you'll wind up fishing something out of a porta potty.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. We were so excited to share Dr. Fred with you. Please, please, please make sure to follow us on YouTube and subscribe and download our episodes on your favorite podcast player and leave us a review. And we'll see you guys again soon.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. Give this podcast a rating so other cat lovers can find it. Connect with the Jersey PodCats on social media or visit thejerseypodcats.com and leave a message sharing a story or question about cats. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode.